And you see we are going to get right into it. The first ban from Lambert going to be the Twitch.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Twitch actually taken away. It's not super common for these teams to take something like Twitch. Danza must be preparing it, and they must have scouted that out from the side of Lambert. So interesting to see that one taken off the board first.
The respond ban is going to be the Kennen from Mount to Sales, taking away that top laner from its Kennen. The Lulu is going to follow. So a lot of target here on the bottom lane from Lambert. And let's really quickly go over what we mean by bottom lane. So on Summoner's Rift, which is the map these teams will play on, you kind of divide the map into 5 different roles: top, jungle, mid, bot, and support. And those are the roles that you see in order from top to bottom. And this really just corresponds to where these players will play. The top players are going to go in the top lane. The mid players will go in the mid lane, and bot and support will go into the bottom lane, with the junglers being a little bit unique as they are not tied down to a specific location and can roam around the map. So when we talk about, hey, they're targeting the bottom lane player or the top lane player, that is what we're referring to.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we're seeing right now from both sides is the adaptation to some of the drafting that we will see. Bans from both sides. For the side of Lambert, they're taking away team-based champions that are scale a little bit later into the game. We'll talk a little bit about what that means, but certainly all of these champions are meant to 5v5 team fight together. That's the style Mount DeSalle wants to bring, so Lambert takes away those champions. Mount DeSalle does the opposite. Aggressive champions that are good at individual roles, especially that Nidalee for Volcan. Big takeaway for the side of Mount DeSalle. They're looking to play the team game.
And Lambert being on the blue side has the unique advantage that they get to choose first. And they are going to lock in the Aatrox up there in the top lane, grabbing a very strong dueler for its Kennen. And then rounding it out with the Olaf, another big pick for Volcan, and the Kai'Sa, one of Vorpal's favorites. In response, Mount DeSalle is going to take the Kayn for their, I believe that's going to be top lane, as they grab Sejuani for their jungle and an Anivia in the mid lane.
It's actually Sejuani top lane, running out of time, loves to play that. It's one of his like kind of pocket picks. He likes to pull it out.
Even better.
Even better, yeah. Sejuani in the top lane, a tank that can deal with a lot of the laners that come out. But again, playing to their strengths right now. Aatrox, Olaf, very early game champions, like to be aggressive from the side of Lambert. That Aatrox pick, look for it to be flexed between Bakadar and Knight. I'm not sure how to say that name, so I'll call him Nate. In the mid lane. On the opposite side, again, AoE, CC, and 5v5 coming out from Mount DeSalle. That draft very common to what they use.
Absolutely. One thing I am a bit worried about, though, is we said these teams have faced off already, and one of their biggest weaknesses going into those 2 losses against Lambert was the fact that they picked 3 losing lanes, or more so, they picked champions that weren't strong into their opponents. Their opponents should have, if they play it correctly, a lead against them at pretty much every stage. And you can kind of see that coming out again is the Sona is going to be locked in from Mount DeSalle. This might point to maybe a Sona Taric, a very late game scaling composition that we have seen become a little bit more popular.
Yeah, my expectation is into an aggressive comp like this, you might not see the Sona Taric come out. They're building a lot of zoning control with things like the Sona, the Anivia, and the Sejuani. I would expect something safe at AD, something like Varus, Ezreal. On the opposite side, we saw the Galio, the LeBlanc. That's 2 more aggressive picks. Again, Lambert's going to put the pedal to the metal in this first game.
Correct. It is going to be the Ezreal coming out for the ADC of Mount DeSalle, paired up with that Sona there in the bot lane. And it's going to be against that Kai'Sa Galio, so very aggressive lane. However, Ezreal, one of the safest AD carries in the game, safest bot laners that we see. So it will be the idea of Mount DeSalle to just not give away any advantages and hopefully scale up into the late game. But what do we mean by that late game, mid game, early game? Well, that's just the way that the game is actually split up. A typical game of League of Legends will last anywhere between 25 to 45 minutes. Now, there are exceptions, but the way that works is there is 3 stages. In the early game, champions are very weak. Players want to just continue to get stronger, so they will just farm up gold and experience and buy items to get as strong as they possibly can. In the mid game is where they start leaving their lanes and grouping around big objectives that spawn around the map that can get them bigger leads. And in the late game is typically when both teams are as strong as they will possibly get. And then we see these giant epic clashes of 2 teams going head to head, or different compositions coming out, and typically the game ends not too long after that.
Absolutely. Earlier stages of the game are very dependent on individual plays. That's why you'll see solo lanes a lot. They'll be the ones that have eliminations, and gold really start to shift the way the game goes. Mid-game starts to be more. You'll see 2v2s, 3v3s, the occasional 5v5. They start to cluster up, start to group a little bit. That late game is really the 5v5 area for a lot of team compositions, and so you draft according to where you want to play the game and when you can generate your advantage.
And a lot of times the composition you pick will decide where you want to try to get those advantages, whether it be the early, mid, or late game. You can see Lambert, they have a lot of aggressive champions that should win the laning phase. They don't need as much gold or items to be dominant. So their goal is going to be in this early game, put their enemies behind, and then just never let their foot off the gas. They are going to just push, and push Mount de Sales into such a huge hole that they can never escape, while Mount de Sales wanted the exact opposite. Just try to survive as much as you can, because once they get their golden items, they will be significantly stronger, and then they are going to look for those big fights and look to end the game. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these teams play around their strengths and their weaknesses, and a big part of that is going to come down to the jungle. We've seen Volcan just absolutely erupt in some of these series. On the Olaf specifically, went like 15-4 in his last match against Mount de Sales when he did get it. And Kane, a jungler that although wants to fight early, is not very strong when he does it.
Absolutely, and it's still that style that Mount de Sales wants to play, and that Kane being the 5v5 member, he can do quite a bit of work. But again, Olaf, this early game presence that in that, as you mentioned, the 15 elimination game for him. So definitely keep your eyes on these two as the game starts.
All right, well, we have getting the already check, and we're going to join these two teams on the Rift. Get excited, everybody, for the first game of a best-of-3 between Lambert and Mount de Sales to decide the state championship. As we see a little bit of a level 1 group up here from Lambert. They're confident. They know they have the early advantage, especially with Olaf landing that first axe. That is so oppressive. The slows are going to come through. Anivia has to flash away, but can't she do it in time? The auto attack coming through. Nice passive there is going to let her revive, but that is a vital tool that Anivia is missing early on for no cost from Lambert.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, here's the thing is that invade against the majority of other champions does result in elimination. That's a lot of gold that gets given to the side of Lambert early. Still, because Anivia used that defensive tool, has that passive, as you just saw, she revived after being taken down to 0 health, it prevents that elimination from going over. So while, yes, Anivia is down defensive tools.
Could be, and you're just sitting on a ward here, so the enemies know he's around here. Let's talk very quickly about vision. You can only see what is directly around you or around your structures unless you have something called a ward. You can see that little 3 red bars there. It's the observer highlights. If you put down a ward, that allows you to see something even if you aren't there. So very important to track where your enemy is moving, and a good job there by Mount de Sales to make sure they got that down as they retreated.
Absolutely. Now here's the thing is Mount de Sales did put it around the wall, so I'm not sure if it exactly caught vision. Kane is still going to find the invade, so they must have known that that was going to be the case.
Yeah, they did see its PK on that one, so they just assumed that the Olaf was there as well. And Kane going to do something we call counter jungling, taking your enemy's farm away so that they can't get stronger. However, with Olaf doing the same in the red side, it's more of just an even trade.
Yeah, that's what we like to call vertical jungling, where rather than take the camps on your side of the map, the blue or red side, they're instead going horizontally, taking the camps in different directions diagonally. And what this does is it splits the map into 2 areas where Kane can protect his bot lane and this Olaf can protect his top lane. That's actually very good for the side of Mount de Sales, because this bot lane is, to me, the weakness, the thing that they do have to protect, at least in the early game.
Absolutely, and you want to get an advantage for that Aatrox there in the top lane. Sejuani, very tanky, doesn't have a lot of damage, but hard to actually take down, so SPK might need some help up there to actually get the ball rolling.
And I do think ItsPK has had some very solid performances over the course of the split, but in the series that they played against Mount de Sales, he wasn't exactly the #1 carry. He wasn't the person dictating the pace of the game, and so giving him something like this Aatrox is them saying, let's give him that chance.
All right, we see a little bit of a scuffle there. Running out of time, falling out to about half health there. Is falling down a lot in CS. Now, CS stands for creep score, and these little minions that you see pushing in the middle of the lane, they are worth golden experience. Every time you take one down, you see that little burst of gold coin shattering everywhere. You get some resources, some gold, some experience. The little numbers next to the pictures on the bottom is how much CS you have. And that's a very good indication, looking across that matchup, of which champion is stronger than the others. So you see right there, LeBlanc 23, Anivia 10. She has about twice the farm, which means she'll have about twice the gold. Now, she can't turn that into an actual lead until she goes back to her base and buys item, but it just means potentially she is stronger right now.
And champions like this Anivia, the Sejuani, and even the bot lane with his Ezreal Sona are going to be at least a little lower in CS to start the game because they have to pay respect to the aggression that can come from LeBlanc and from Aatrox. You might see a gank here in the mid lane.
Speaking of aggression, Kayn might want to throw some mid lane's way. See, he's hiding over the wall. Kayn wants to have a lot of early skirmishes because the more he fights, the closer he will get to a transformation that he pulls off around the mid game. And he can only stat progress to get that transformation when he's damaging other champions. So he wants to get into these lanes. Just the downside of that is he doesn't have a very strong early game. So I like that he's looking for these, but he just has to be careful where he actually chooses to fight.
Yeah, both of these junglers actually started out by full clearing, so both of them get as many camps as they're intended to get at 28 CS at this point. Kayn's a little behind the Olaf right now, but certainly being even right now is good for the Kayn because Olaf is this earlier presence jungler, the one that needs to be making things happen. So if this continues the way that it is, Kayn will certainly have an advantage come mid-game.
Yeah, absolutely will. And you see some good CS lanes in the side of both top and bottom and mid as well. It's just kind of across the board. It is going to be Lambert just farming more efficiently, grabbing more gold for them. So around the time that these champions start backing and then coming back to lane, they are going to have a good advantage over their opponents.
Yeah, and I do like already that this LeBlanc here in the mid lane, you see that ward up towards the top side. Raptor
It's a nice, the chain is not going to hit, but it's going to be Nate going in for a little bit of aggression, distortions in, throws down some pork, and hops right out.
Yeah, and Anivia does have to be careful. It doesn't have the flash quite yet. It's about to come up and has the passive back. So once those two are back, you can see the Anivia get a little more aggressive.
Ooh, and there the chain does connect. It's going to be the Anivia getting stunned up. Remember, Anivia doesn't have that passive. It was burnt there in the early game. But Volcan, he's going to be looking for something more. The flash away from the Kayn as he has to get out of there. Very good invade there by the mid lane duo.
Yeah, and what I'll talk about is how that first, the very first play of the game impacted what just occurred. Let's see if there's a gank top lane first.
Yeah, he is kind of moving up to the top side. A ward is going to spot him out. You can see the vision being toggled, and the Sejuani knows that he's coming. So dashes away, keeps herself safe. But she's falling down very low. They might not even worry about the turret. They're going to go for the dive. The ultimate is going to come out from the Aatrox. The flash forward. The first takedown secured there by Volcan. What a play from Lambert.
Yeah, and fantastic job by the side of Lambert right there. They have complete control of this top side. See those three wards in a line. They know they can control where mid lane is going because Anivia continues to get pushed in, and there's no jungler from the Kayn being pushed out from the gank earlier. And so Olaf gets to walk up. Basically, it's this free gank onto the top lane Sejuani. She didn't have level 6 yet, and that's first elimination.
And with Sejuani already being so far down in that lane, that's really going to start to snowball that advantage. She will burn the teleport, and so she won't miss too much farm, but sitting already 30 CS down, that is almost effectively a full takedown onto this Aatrox.
Yeah, it is a rough hole that this Sejuani is in. The one caveat you can make is that tanks, their itemization, their ability to impact the game is much, much easier than a damaged champion like Aatrox. So Sejuani, while she's in this hole right now, doesn't necessarily need tons of resources, doesn't need tons of creep score to stay relevant in this game. Now, that doesn't mean that Aatrox can't take it over if he gets this advantage. So we have to see how Running Out of Time wants to play this game without the resources necessary to compete with the Aatrox.
Yeah, and it really comes down to the differentiating goals between the top laners. Sejuani wants to be grouping up with a team and using those tank stats to protect her carries, which is why she doesn't need as much gold for herself. But Aatrox wants to stay in this side lane. And at some point, if this Aatrox gets far enough ahead, if he is sitting in this side lane taking all of your turrets, you have to send someone to answer him. And at that point, if this lead continues to grow, Sejuani won't be able to do that. So they might have to send two members to deal with him. And at that point, you are just at a numbers disadvantage if a fight happens on the other side of the map.
And this is not, this is an interesting adaptation here. We see a little bit of a gank here by top lane.
Sejuani going in, but it is the Olaf waiting in the wings. He is going to make sure that Sejuani can't aggress any farther as another nice chunk of health taken off of Sorcius.
Yeah, so this is an interesting adaptation by the side of Lambert. What they're doing right now is their intention was likely to get aggressive on the bot lane. They drafted this Kai'Sa and this Galio, very aggressive bot lane champions that can attack towards the early stage.
Ooh, but nice taunt there is going to grab the Ezreal. Arcane shifts away to safety, and Sona going to speed
Kane's coming
him
in
up.
behind right now.
It is the Kane going to come in, and that was the mobility already used there by Vorpal and Baber. They have to get out of here. Nice Justice Punch is going to knock up the Kane, though, and what he thought was going to be a gank from him turns into him allowing a takedown to go over.
Yeah, it was very, very close. Again, it's difficult to engage onto this Galio right here. He's very tanky. He has a lot of CC, and so the Kane, not level 6 yet, doesn't have the ultimate available, and so he just doesn't have the damage. The follow-up also from Danza and Little Danza just didn't seem like they were quite ready to come in. They are both, a little low in mana, the resource department, so that was risky. I think it was a very close call, but communication might have just been a little off from the side of Mount DeSalle.
Yeah, and a big thing was that the Sona and the Ezreal had just used a lot of their tools to get away from that 2v2 fight. So when Kane came back in, they didn't have anything to contribute. So it was really, although the numbers advantage was in their favor, it was actually, in terms of what they had to contribute, a advantage there for Lambert.
Yeah, and again, Kane did get a little something out of that. He was able to get, some of these orb charges for his transformation that will come eventually, but certainly that went nothing like how he wanted it to. We see 3 members here topside as well, again, aggressing on the Sejuani.
Yeah, but because they brought 3 members all the way up there, that is going to give Mount DeSalle the confidence they need to go for this dragon. Now tell me a little bit about what this dragon is going to do for Mount DeSalle.
Yeah, so this dragon is a neutral objective. That is an objective that either team can take throughout the majority of the game. There are 3 big ones, but dragons specifically have a unique property to them. They spawn every 6 minutes. Each one, there are 4 of them that have a distinct element that is described to them, and each one gives permanent flat stats for the entirety of the game. The one they just received is called Cloud Drake, gives them movement speed. It means they can move around the map a little bit better. That is something that you typically see on 5v5 team compositions, and they're playing this 5v5, so it's not unexpected to see them value this dragon early.
And the important thing there is that the buffs are permanent. So for the rest of the game, it's going to be the Mount DeSalle having a little bit of a faster movement around the map as Kane has to get out of that fight. That Cloud Drake already coming in handy for him. But they did trade it over for not only the first turret up there on the top side, but the Rift Herald going down as well. Let's talk about this one a little bit.
Yeah, so the Rift Herald is, as you just saw, the large crab-like monster that was spawned in the pit right there. This allows for it to be summoned in a lane for your team, and it does a massive amount of damage to a structure. So if you drop it next to a tower, it will attack that tower and do lots of damage. And that allows you, especially before 14 minutes, as we see right now, to get plates, that thing you're seeing on your screen under the tower right now.
Yeah, if you are able to damage the tower enough to get it below one of those plates, you get a large gold sum as a reward, so that's very important. Now, that goes away at 14 minutes, so if they do want to use this Rift Herald, I would recommend they do it within the next 2 minutes before those plates fall, specifically somewhere, either mid or bot, because the top one, plates are already gone, and there you see it, Volcan dropping that Rift Herald, nicknamed Shelly, as we like to call her, and she charges up, and look at that damage! So much gold is going to be going into their pockets as they take down multiple plates off that play, and it should be the mid lane tier 1 falling as well, as Nate might want something a little bit more, but he's going to distortion out of that one, happy with just taking the turret.
Yeah, and again, this is all a byproduct of what happened in the draft. Taking this Ezreal Sona as a super safe laning phase for the side of Mount DeSalle, so they've adapted. They take this Olaf, put him on the top side. They aggress against this Sejuani and this Anivia in the early stages of the game, and now look what's happening. Top lane and mid lane and jungle are all doing
but now the Tong going to come in, going to grab the Sona. She has to flash away because Olaf was waiting in the wings. They had vision on him, still stepping up. Now with LeBlanc down here as well, looking to aggress onto the Kane. The ultimate going to come in from Galio. Make sure she stays healthy, but Kane came along for the ride as he used his ult. It is going to be Beber Agua now in trouble. The heal going to come through. Can Ezreal get on top of him? The Q, the ultimate not going to hit quite yet. as now Sorcius has to flash away, should have the passive back available, as Dzan looks for some more. Vorpal has his number now. Axe is not going to hit. Arcane shifts back to the safety of his turret, and they think about a dive, but then they think better. They back off. It's going to be a 2-for-0 trade.
Yeah, and again, this Kayn just has no agency in the early stage of the game. He really wants to power farm, attempt to get his transformation as easy as possible, just hasn't been able to, prioritize that. 4 eliminations and a 5,000
Dzan, though, he is not giving up, has the arcane shift, but he's falling so low. The Blanc going to go in, the Ignite going to come through with the turret shot following, and he's going to trade one back, and Dzan doesn't even go down. That was an incredible play by him.
Yeah, this is the same.
Oh, and now the Anivia wall coming through, and a shutdown, a bounty collected by Sorcius. That was so much kind of overstep there from Lambert, but also really good capitalization coming out from Mount to Sales.
Yeah, they did definitely smell some blood in the water there, trying to get some of these eliminations onto the Ezreal, but certainly the Ezreal with the safety he brings is difficult to bring down. And then, of course, Anivia being able to follow up onto the Olaf, it just makes the job so hard. These are champions that scale well into the late game, so while this is a large gold lead for the side of Lambert, getting some of these eliminations, getting this golden experience onto champions like the Anivia in the mid lane or the Ezreal in the bot lane will certainly help when they start to compete for some neutral objectives in the mid game.
It absolutely will, and that mid game is starting to come up here soon. It kind of happens around the 15 to 20 minute mark where teams stop staying in their lanes and kind of go to these big objectives. We've already seen a lot of that happen a little earlier than we usually do. But it's definitely around when these first items start coming in and teams start getting stronger. So now a nice 2v2 scuttle might break out, but here in the mid lane, it's going to be LeBlanc, possibly in a 1v3, very low on health. The ultimate from Sejuani going to come in, but the nice juke backwards with the distortion. Can they actually get out of this one? The chain's going to come through, but it's not going to be enough as Soccer Monk is able to find the W for the takedown.
Yeah, Soccer Monk finally gets his transformation, and you saw the impact it had in that little exchange right there. It was 2v1, but certainly he was a lot less squishy than he was in the earlier stages of the game, was able to get some CC in there as well. This transformation is going to help the Kayn out immensely as he starts to try to affect the map.
This is a really good transformation for the Kayn too. Right at 15 minutes, kind of where these fights are starting to happen. This is where you want to see him if you are Mount to Sales. And now they're looking to grab their second Cloud Drake. Now these elements do stack up to 3 times, so they will have increased permanent movement speed. Now they are going to start going very fast.
Yeah, and it's already difficult to catch champions like Kayn and like Ezreal, even with the Sona speeding them up. So having 2 Cloud Drakes makes them nearly impossible to catch in open space. It's going to be interesting to see what Lambert can do to try to aggress against this team.
It will be interesting indeed as Volcan coming down here into this bot side, taking a little bit of poke, but it's going to be 4 members strong against the 3 from Mount to Sales. Donk going to come out, not going to grab the Kayn as he goes in. Teleport being channeled, and this could be big. As we see the Galio ultimate going to come through, but will only find 2. The taunt onto the Anivia. She is the target right now. The flash over the wall, though. Lambert knows they have been enough more they can shoot, and they are looking to retreat. But not for Nate as he goes back over the wall. Not able to find Anivia, though, and now he could be in trouble. Finds the clone. Can he get out? It's going to be Mount to Sales chasing the wrong LeBlanc. So sad to see. And now Lambert still sticking around. They aren't quite done here. A lot of poke coming through. They are very low on health bars. Anivia has her passive available, so she is a little more healthy than you would initially think. But at the end of the day, it's going to fizzle out, neither team pulling the trigger.
Give massive respect to the side of Mount to Sales, especially running out of time. He saw that there was going to be action happening bot lane, and he wasn't there, so he uses the teleport, ability to take you to a structure or ward of your own choosing, and it takes him across the map, allows him to help out in this fight, defend his teammates so no more eliminations come through.
Leo, it's going to be the Sejuani finding a great ultimate as the LeBlanc dashes in, doesn't know who's over the wall, didn't have that vision, and she gets caught out and taken down.
Yeah, LeBlanc is traditionally known as a champion who is very, very powerful, especially in some of these catch situations where she finds a champion, but hasn't really had a massive advantage in this game yet, so is going to struggle as the game continues to try to find some of these eliminations in the isolated state. Teleport coming out.
Yeah, another teleport going to come through, this time from its PK. The dash forward, but not able to find that Ezreal. Very slippery with those double Cloud Drakes. They're able to get out of there before the members come in.
Yeah, strong commitment to the tower, utilizing the TP to ensure that play definitely works out in the end. I do respect that from the side of Lambert. They're still trying to snowball this early game that they've had. They're doing a pretty good job of it, but they need to keep going because Sorcius on the Anivia becomes an absolute terror the later we get into the game. It's one of these champions that in a 5v5, just it's impossible to deal with.
And although they have traded even in takedowns and have even gotten some Cloud Drakes in their favor, it's still Lambert with a 4,000 gold lead here in going into the mid game. A lot of that is coming off their very fantastic minion farming. As you see the Observer toggling the gold there, 3,000 of that almost is onto its PK. So he is almost the entire gold lead for his team, 60 CS up over his opponent. He is going to be significantly stronger than the Sejuani right now. What I would like to see is stop putting him in these team fights, put him in the side lane, and force the Sejuani to react to him, not the other way around.
It does become difficult, though, if you're Aatrox. He has to build tons of armor pen. He has the Black Cleaver, which shreds a small amount of armor off, but without any true armor penetration in his quick kit quite yet, eliminating this Sejuani, taking her on in a side lane becomes a difficulty as she gets tankier and tankier. So, the split push can work for at least the next few minutes.
Hang on, though, as a wall off is going to keep the Galio in this fight. And now here comes the engage. It's Mount DeSales off to a really great start as they chunk out the Kaisa, but it could be Sejuani going very low. Hero's entrance is going to be used by the Galio. Nobody has fallen quite yet, but here comes its PK. He's looking to change that. Little Dazan is very low on health. They have to get out of there. Surprisingly, nobody yet has been eliminated as Volcan very low as well. Anivia doesn't want to quite go in on him just yet. I think her passive might have been burned there. I couldn't quite tell. But again, it's just these two teams butting heads but not finding any headway in these 5v5s.
Yeah, I actually really like this from the side of Mount DeSale. They are the ones that needs to be defending in these 5v5s, winning.
Oh, but now it could be its PK a little too far up, does get the dash away. Soccer Monk already using all of his mobility spells, so he won't be able to catch up.
Yeah, Lambert is the one with the gold advantage. So in some of these 5v5s that you're seeing, they need to be finding advantages, but they're just not. They're not able to find the eliminations they need to take more objectives, things like this Baron, this Dragon, or push for more structures. So right now, while they've taken the outer 3 towers from the side of Mount DeSale, right now they're stalling out in the game because of the power of this Anivia and this Kayn to just stay active in some of these team fights ahead of time. They were very close to getting an elimination onto Vorpal there, which would have been massive for a team fight.
And now it's going to be the third Elemental Drake being targeted here by Mount DeSales. This one is an Ocean, gives you increased health and mana regeneration as long as you're not currently in the middle of a fight with somebody. As Dzan, Arcane shifting forward aggressively as they're looking to siege down this mid lane turret.
Yeah, right now, Dzan is actually...
Ooh, nice thought under the turret, though, is going to be running out of time, taking that aggro. Now with the minions running out, it's going to be Mount DeSales having to wait a little longer before they grab their prize.
Yeah, they attempt to try to push down this mid lane tower. Looks like LeBlanc will join them, so a 5v5 could jump out here if an engagement is wanted by either side.
Both teams just trying to clear out these minions. It's going to be Nate waiting in the wings, trying to look for an engage. Here it comes. I saw it onto the Sejuani. She is going to fall. Vorpal going to grab that one. Now, Little Dazan, no flash, has to be careful. The Ezreal, though, finds a shutdown as Nate finds the Sona. Now, the Galio is the target. Kayn going to use his ult. Sorcius going to take credit for that one. A 2v2 so far. Another even trade from these teams.
Yeah, right now the communication, I think, between the Anivia and the Kayn is what's winning a lot of these fights. We've seen a couple of times getting big
the Ezreal
there.
almost going down there. It's the LeBlanc jumping forward. But as you said, it is good for Mount DeSales to go even because they have the better late game. I'd really like to see Lambert stop tunneling so hard in on these 5v5s and play the 1-3-1 composition that they've set up for themselves.
Yeah, it is difficult, though, because LeBlanc isn't super powerful right now. And obviously, in a lane against an Anivia, you don't get tons of push pressure. She has an immense amount of wave clear. Finding the elimination on her is getting harder and harder for this LeBlanc pick. So playing 1v1 or 1-3-1 is starting to become less and less viable. But then they're struggling. They have this 5,000 gold lead, but how do they use it in a fight to get some sort of significant advantage? Right now, I think your best bet is to attack Dzan. He got aggressive in that last fight and almost paid the price for it. Now he won't have the flash available, so if he does it again, he'll definitely be punishable.
that he will. And this LeBlanc, an assassin, is starting to get a lot of the big items for herself. The Luin's Echo, the Orb, a lot of magic pen coming through from those Sork shoes. So if she does find her way onto one of these targets, really any of them, because nobody has really bought any magic resist outside of Sorcius's Mercury Treads, even running out of time, who is the tank for their team, has built almost pure armor. So keep an eye on Nate, who he is able to find in these fights, because he could be the deciding factor.
Yeah, and he has to play a large role in this team.
And this is what we're talking about. Nate goes in. The chains are going to land. And Dzan so close to going down. One more ability will do it, but it could be Nate not quite finding it as Vorpal looks for the axes. A great heal, and little Dzan finding his way back to his carry and keeping him safe.
Dzan did have to burn the healer. That's a summoner down, but certainly will take that trade to stay alive. Now the Baron is being contested here by Lambert.
And this means that they have the confidence to go for this huge objective. Dzan is still pretty low. He doesn't have his summoners available, so they have to be careful, but health bars are getting low on the side of Lambert. They're going in for the fight. A nice ultimate is going to go through. Hero's entrance only going to find one, but it's going to be the Sejuani going down. So far, it's Lambert actually on the back foot, as Nate, the only surviving member, trading over just one to running out of time, as Vorpal does find a takedown there at the end, but a 1-for-4 trade, and the Baron going to be going over.
So LeBlanc used a large amount of the tools that she had in an attempt to aggress onto the edge. We'll see a little bit of action here. Yeah, she's probably going to back off. So again, LeBlanc uses a lot of the tools that she has to fight with to attempt to take down Dzan in the fight before. The rest of this team, that is the Aatrox, the Olaf, and the Kaisa, and even the Galio, all have to run towards them, and that's great for Anivia. The wall, the zoning tools that she has, the AoE damage, just making sure that the side of Lambert is not able to do much.
Absolutely. That has been so paramount. This Anivia doing very good work here for Sorcius and the entire team of Mountain Sales, keeping those divers at bay. And now that gold lead is all but null and void. It's only a 200 advantage for Lambert right now. And Mountain Sales, they have the Baron. Arguably the most important objective in the game. Break that one down for us.
Yeah, so what Baron is it's a large amount of gold. I think it's 2,000 gold spread about the entirety of your team. So that's about, 400 gold a person. That's a lot of gold to put onto your team all at once. Number two, as you're seeing right now, this purple buff on the minions of the red side. It makes them stronger, it makes them harder to take down. They're very tanky, they have a lot of health, and they take down structures very, very well. They're the best minions to use for sieging, and that's what you're going to see right here. This will do lots of damage to the tower, probably bring down a few with it, so you can use it to get some of these
going in
objectives.
does find a good chunk onto Dzan. Now the thing about Baron is, although it is very strong, unlike the Dragon, it is not permanent, so Mountain Sales will have a limited amount of time to actually use this, and they want to pick up a Dragon for themselves. This one is the Inferno. We'll talk about it in a minute, because the fight is coming in. Nate chunked out so low right at the start. They do get the Dragon for themselves, as Vorpal uses the ultimate to get out of dodge. Now the flash is coming through, but he brought Kane along with him, and now Volcan could be in trouble. The dash over the wall from the Sejuani. It is Lambert running for the hills. Running out of time, though, getting a little bit too aggressive, as they are finding some takedowns on the backhand, but at the end of the day, it's going to be Mountain Sales who punishes them for that Dragon.
A quadra kill here for the Ezreal. That's a lot of damage. Again, this time it started off as though Lambert was doing better in this team fight. I think that's because Anivia works much better when you're getting engaged on instead of engaging into a team. But Danza playing so well right now, being able to aggress forward, find a lot of damage. Also, very good hero plays here from Soccer Monk, being able to continue CC this team, put a lot of damage with this Kane pick, doing great work right now. Mountain Sales looking like the superior 5v5 right now.
And Dzan has been absolutely incredible as well. You saw him get the quadra takedown there, 4 in a row. This man is sitting 8-0-2 on the match. And just every time it feels like he gets engaged on, he's always able to escape. We talked about the safety of this pick, and he is using it so effectively.
Yeah, the Anivia makes it difficult for some of these champions that would run towards him, things like the Olaf, things like the Aatrox, to actually fully engage upon him. And then, anybody that can get poke on him, things like this Kaiser, things like this LeBlanc, they're being mitigated by the Sona pick that's protecting him. The Sejuani, also a big front line for him. So he's allowed to just use this damage, use this long range that Ezreal has, and the safety of the Ezreal to just put out safe, consistent damage against Lambert.
And now we are starting to, we are firmly in the mid game, but we're starting to encroach into that late game territory. These big items for the side of Mountain Sales are coming through, as Sejuani unfortunately whiffs on that ultimate, but it's going to get harder and harder for Lambert to actually start winning these fights, and they haven't been doing so even when they have the advantage. So they are very much on a clock right now and have to do something huge to gain back control of this game.
Again, Lambert's best strategy is attempt to five.
Oh no, and Volcan, you are caught out. That is not where you want to be. Pops the Ragnarok, trying to get away. The W couldn't come through, dodges that one, but the wall going down, and Soccer Monk going to find the jungler of Lambert.
Yeah, very, very well played. Good catch there. Olaf now down for the next few seconds here. Going to be able to engage, probably take the inhibitor from this mid lane right now.
Inhibitor is down, or is about to go down, as the team is going to be grouping around that one, and a member down. Lambert can't really do much about it. That's going to fall, start spawning super minions in that wave. Nate is looking for something, but you see the instant ultimate from the Anivia being thrown down, making sure he can't do anything, but there's the engage. Running out of time, it was the target, but it's going to be Bear that goes down. The Sejuani getting pulled back in. The ADC is gone, and the entirety of Lambert is just crumbling to pieces. One member is going to be traded away from Mountain Sales, but they find 3 in return, and now they're just looking to end the game. One Nexus turret has fallen. The second one going to go low. Nate, can you make the hero play? It doesn't look like it. Not this time around. And for the first time this season, Mountain Sales will take a game off of Lambert.
Mountain Sales, again, they had the later game composition. They were fighting against a team that has this early game aggression to their name. And, this is a composition they feel very comfortable on. The Olaf pick destroyed in their last series. Just looked like they were well prepared for it. Took the game, slowed down the pacing just a little bit in the middle 10 minutes of it, and then brought it to that 5v5. And they were not only the stronger 5v5 composition, they were playing the 5v5s better.
Exactly, in that early game that you mentioned, even though Lambert should have had a massive advantage, and they started to 5,000 gold up, just 10, 15 minutes into the game. But when it came to those actual team fights, despite being at a disadvantage, it was Mountain Sales who time and time again came back and won those fights. And it was off the hand of very great zoning coming out from that Anivia, as well as good positioning from Ezreal, making sure, even if he was caught, he was never going down. Undefeated in the game. Incredible performance.
And I think Lambert was caught a little bit off guard. They had the advantage that they wanted in the beginning of the game, but they kept getting baited into these 5v5 team fights, and they didn't realize how this composition needed to be played in a 5v5. Kai'Sa needs to play front to back, and the rest of them need to basically play bodyguard for her. Instead, they kept getting dives, kept trying to push into the Anivia, and it was not working out for them. So either A, they need a better, clear-cut composition for 5v5 that can still get aggressive early, or they need to double down on early aggression and completely forego the 5v5.
Well, we'll see what they actually decide to do, as adaptation is the name of the game. And going into game 2, Lambert High will have a chance to do just that, as they want to take this series to a game 3. We're going to go into a short break while these players get ready for game 2. So don't go anywhere. You aren't going to want to miss the rest of this series.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the PlayVS Spring 2019 Georgia State Championships. I'm your host, Nekra, and we are in the middle of a riveting series between Lambert High School and Mount DeSales Academy. These two teams have met before, but it's actually Mount DeSales that has the 1-0 lead right now over Lambert High School. The big question is, can Lambert High School prove to us that they can get to a map 3 and that last time that they met wasn't a fluke for them to win? Or is Mount DeSales really the team to beat right now with their amazing 5v5 team fight strategies? Let's find out from Audio and Rebel Fox.
Thanks, Nekra. What a great showing there by Mount DeSales, drafting a team fight comp, taking the team fights, and winning the game. Perfectly executed. I really loved the coordination they have, the vision around the map, constantly finding members of the opposing team. Will they be able to do it again? That is the question we are looking to answer here in Game 2.
Yeah, and again, the 5v5 composition that they put together was a big part of it, but their play in the 5v5 was just as much a reasoning. They were constantly, at a goal deficit in the early stage of the game, still taking even fights or not losing anybody in some of these fights, and then they ended up on top. I think a lot of it was on the back of Anivia. I want to see Anivia taken away from the side of Lambert.
100%. She was able to deny so much aggression, especially coming out from that LeBlanc. Every time she dove in, it was an instant ultimate, zoning her away, making sure if she wanted to go under the back line, she was going to pay dearly for it. And that Ezreal as well. You saw multiple times, even if he was caught out, able to use the Arcane Shift very effectively and get out to safety. 8-0, I believe, was his final score. He had an incredible performance, and you saw why he wanted to pick that champion. He knew he was going to be aggressed on, grabbing some mobility for himself.
Yeah, and interesting enough also, I'd like to see maybe the Olaf taken away. The Olaf was very, very strong from the side of Lambert. Got a lot of that early game advantage for them, but it wasn't able to finish out the game. Still, if they want to go for an early game aggressive style, I think the Olaf is where Lambert would want to go. So if you're on the side of Mount DeSales, take away the Olaf.
It'll be interesting to see what Lambert actually decided to do here. Remember, they did have the win over Mount DeSales when they met in the regular season. And now coming into this match, they thought we can play the same style as we did before. It's going to work for us. But with it falling kind of flat in Game 1, will they make an adaptation, or will they stick to their guns and their play style and try to pull the same composition and just execute on it more effectively?
It did seem like something that was important to note is that Lambert's advantages weren't coming in pure 1v1s. They were coming in a lot of skirmishes and in small 2v2, 3v3 fights. So maybe pick a composition that's better suited to grouping in the earlier stages of the game, because that's when they were really having very solid success.
They did. And let's go over to the draft phase to see what these teams are going to do. As like you said, the obvious adaptations we want to see, ban away that Anivia. From the other side, ban away the Olaf. That's what we thought was some of the strongest picks, as Mount DeSales on the blue side is going to first ban away that Hecarim. So still attacking Volcan, just not with the Olaf ban.
This was taken away last game as well. Again, Volcan on something like Hecarim would be a terror. We saw what he did on the Olaf, and Hecarim, another one of these champions. Very fast, can gank very early, has plenty of damage, and more team fight potential. So certainly glad to see that taken off the board.
Kind of the best of both worlds, as Lambert going to take away Azir from Sorcius. We saw his Anivia. You can only imagine what he'd do on another control mage that powerful, as I don't even think we got to see the full potential out of Sorcius. He was starting to stack up those items, but didn't quite get to that late game status, and there it is, Lambert taking that champion away. They saw what Sorcius was able to do for his team. They don't want to see it again.
Well done, Lambert. Well done.
You passed the first test.
Yeah. That's a good start. A lot of teams, especially at this level, see something like that at Anivia, and sometimes they don't even question it. They'll just leave it up anyway because they don't think it was the problem. I think very clearly that was a problem in this game, so they're very smart to take that away.
The rounding out the bans coming from Mount DeSales will be the Nidalee and the Kennen returning from the Game 1 bans. Lambert taking away that Lulu from Little Dizon. As the Kane first pick there for Soccer Monk. You saw it on Game 1. It looked good. He's going to be returning to a Game 2.
Yeah, interesting to see the Kane come back. That didn't seem to have a ton. It was very good later in the stage. I'm not going to take that away from the side of Soccer Monk, but certainly I don't think it was phenomenal. I don't think it was first pickable, because now it could be very punishable, especially since Olaf is still up, and that's exactly
yeah,
what
they
want.
do grab that Lambert taking the Olaf and the Vladimir. A little bit of a flex pick. It could go up to its Picadar up there on the top side. Could go the way of Nate, as Mountain Sails picking up the Twitch that was not on the table there for Dizon. He loves this champion, plays it a lot, and it's going to be paired with the Rise.
Yeah, Vladimir also a takeaway from Mountain Sail, one of their more played champions, just to make note of that. Leona, take it. That's a very, very big pickup. Last game we saw it banned in the second phase, and this time they're getting a hold of that early game aggressive champion for the bot lane.
Yeah, the Bear Agua is very good on this champion as well. And the thing about Twitch, although he does insane amounts of damage in the late game, earlier on is very vulnerable. So having an aggressive pick like Leona could turn up the tempo there for Lambert.
Absolutely, it'd be interesting to see. Now, what is being focused in the second phase here?
It's going to be the LeBlanc taking away. Nate, although didn't quite find all the engages he wanted, still was probably one of the better performing players on his team in Game 1. The Mordekaiser as well, interesting ban, really a target, probably against its Picadar. Not exactly sure where that is coming from. The Sejuani going to be taken away from running out of time as well.
Yeah, Mordekaiser Leona is a favorite of Lambert. It's a super aggressive bot lane, and they can absolutely snowball an entire game, especially off the back of the Dragon take. So that's a Vorpal special. I'm glad that's away, but
it would have been an absolute pleasure to watch, as Vorpal will pick up the Ezreal for himself. Not exactly what I was expecting to pair with this Leona, but it's going to be Mountain Sails rounding out their composition with the Scion and the Janna. So again, going for this late game style, running out of time on a tank there in the top lane, a tank that should have a little bit more agency against some of these carries. And we'll see, as Lambert has saved their flex pick for the top lane, it is going to be the Maokai coming out for its Picadar. So Vladimir will be shifting to mid to face Sorcius.
Yeah, this is an interesting adaptation by Lambert. While they still have some aggression, this time in the form of the Leona roaming around the map and the Olaf in the jungle, they're putting a lot of that in the back burner. They're saying, okay, we can get aggressive with these picks, but the pure 5v5 with the Leona, with this Ezreal, with this Vladimir, and the Maokai is so much better than last game. So Lambert, they can play aggressive in the earlier stage of the game the same way they've been wanting to play, but they certainly have a much better 5v5 than last time.
Absolutely, and I was interested to see Vorpal pick up this Twitch. It seems like he likes some of those later game carries. Does offer him the same safety that Dizon was able to have in the first round. I wonder if maybe they thought that Twitch could have been somehow flexed to the jungle. It just seems like there was so many better options up.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm curious. Again, it's also weird that they took Janna with it, because Janna isn't typically what you'd like to see with the Twitch. It is good disengage away from Leona, so that is protection in at least by level 6 standards, but level 2 through 5 is very, very dangerous for a lane with a Janna and a Twitch in it. Both very squishy, can't get a lot of poke onto Ezreal, and the Leona very, very tanky, so Mountain Sails might have kind of buried their bot lane here, might have to sack that lane, look for some aggression on the top side.
Remember, Volcan is still on this Olaf. It is a very strong early pick. If there is a lane you want to gank, it is going to be this Twitch and a Janna early on, especially with a Leona on your side.
I'm also running into the thing that Mount to Sails 5v5, pure 5v5 in this game, is much weaker than last game. The Scion is very good for 5v5. Kayn still in the same realm. Rise, not really known for that. Really known more for a split push style with this, kind of stay away, and then in teamfights he absolutely can contribute. But then Janna and Twitch are absolutely aggressive on, especially if you have things like this Olaf that are immune to CC, or this Leona with the long range engage. So Lambert drafts a better 5v5, still has very aggressive early picks. I think if Volcan gets off to an early lead, this game goes very differently than last time.
100%. And although Dizon and Little Dizon will have a lot of damage to put out there in the 5v5, especially with Twitch, Runan's Hurricane, the ultimate spreading out very wide. As you said, very aggressive. And all it takes is Nate with a Sanguine Pool. He can no longer be stopped by anything like the Leona or the Anivia or something to that effect. So it's going to be easier for him to actually get onto the carries and dish out the damage that he has.
Yeah, it will be much more interesting to see how Lambert wants to roll with this Vladimir pick. Again, it's decent into Rise too. Like, individual lanes actually feel rather strong for Lambert. Their 5v5 feels strong. I'm not sure exactly how Mountain Sail plan to attack this Lambert composition the way that it's drafted at the moment with Kayn in the jungle.
It will be difficult. We saw that kind of the last time around. The ganks that Soccer Monk was looking for weren't always the best. Now, the Kayn, all he really wants to do is go for those stacks. I expect him to maybe go up to the top side. You would assume he wants Red Kayn for the team fighting later on. And since Maokai is a very immobile tank that is easy to get those stacks up off, that's kind of where I would see Mountain Sales sending their jungler just to really push him into that transformation as quick as possible.
I think the best thing for Mount to Sales, if they really want to try to get a grasp on this game, is hit mid lane as often as possible. If you can force this Vladimir to go defensively, Ezreal and Vladimir have pretty good late game damage, but if Vladimir is forced into a defensive itemization early, that is a lot of damage taken off. So if Olaf doesn't get a massive advantage, and if there's more defensive items for Vladimir, that mid-game fight for Mount to Sales is going to be much, much stronger.
Well, will Lambert be able to pull off a different composition, or will Mountain Sales take this game to a 2-0 victory? It's time to find out as we join these teams on the Rift once again. As you see, a 5v5, both coming out strong here in the jungle. They're going to spot each other, though, so no crazy shenanigans coming through.
Absolutely. And again, looking for this earlier stage is for teams that have pretty good CC early or very good damage early. That actually, I think, favors the side of Lambert in this particular case. That's why they're continuing on this invade, just looking for wards, try to get vision on Soccer Monk, see where he's going as the game continues.
Absolutely, especially with that Olaf so strong in the level 1. They are going to invade into the enemy jungle, force Mount to Sales away from this red buff, and possibly look for a steal. But we saw last time, Soccer Monk is more than happy to trade that over on the other side.
Yeah, could still look to go to this vertical jungling style, but Maokai, I think he still has his, absolutely still has his ward, so he'll be able to at least spot out if the Kayn wants to go for that. And here's the thing is, this game, Kayn, if he wants to try to overextend without red buff this time, I think that Volcan can go catch him with his hand in the cookie jar, so to say, and actually take that fight and win very early and oppress the Kayn in that sense rather than trying to outgank him.
That could be the case. Kayn is not going to start on the enemy red buff, so there is the chance that Volcan could have a 3-buff clear. We'll see where Soccer Monk decides to go. We should know that Kayn's starting on the blue because the bot lane was there right away, and top did show late.
They're going to actually spot Kayn here on this ward. He's going to try to counter juggle, but he's a little slow on this. Olaf's already at 8 camps, and then he's coming back to his own blue side jungle. The one thing is he doesn't get the Krug, so if Kayn wants, he can go up to the Krugs and catch him back. Volcan doing exactly what I suggested a second ago.
Yeah, he's just going to walk through mid. He's going to let the whole team know he's there. He's going to go straight to this red buff. Wants to stop Soccer Monk. He is very low. Has a flash available. Olaf just kind of assuming that this camp is already gone. Will not find Soccer Monk. Could have been a bit of a missed opportunity.
Yeah, that's actually fine, though. He protects his own Raptor camp, and that prevents he now gets exactly one camp advantage, which is the Raptors. That's a fair amount of golden experience, and that camp is very large, and it's one that Kayn takes very, very fast. So his clear is at least, taken down a little bit of a step. Olaf gets a minor advantage, and if they run into each other in a little bit, he certainly will have, the fight capabilities.
That he will. With the camp advantage, he's going to be looking to clear out this bot side jungle. I don't expect Olaf to really go top a lot. Leave your tank on an island and see the wet noodle fight coming out. It's going to be Soccer Monk. Really, he had the only reason to go up there because he wants to stack his orbs. But I like that Volcan is just hovering on this bot side. Remember, aggressive bot laner against this very aggressive bull, Twitch and Janus, especially in the early levels.
Yeah, and look at Maokai. He pushed out his wave, and he's getting a little bit of vision control with the saplings around the top side scuttle. Olaf went back bot side. So if Kayn wants a scuttle, he assumes that the bot side scuttle is his best chance. And you see him pathing towards it right now. Olaf could catch him here, might look to fight him, if not push him away from this camp.
Soccer Monk down to about half health. Doesn't have this might just steal it away and not finding it as Volcan goes in, does level up off that trade. Severe Agua looking for the Zenith Blade. Doesn't quite find it. No vision of Kayn, but nice secure there by Volcan.
Very, very well done. And again, this is good pathing from Volcan attempting to still oppress this this Kayn, my apologies, as best as possible in the jungle. He's doing a great job. Again, he's the better early game champion. He can absolutely take fights against Kayn pre-transformation, and he's pressing this advantage early.
Is sitting a couple camps up. Look at the double scuttle for himself. So very nicely done by Volcan. Now just kind of sit in this top side, see if an opportunity presents itself. Doesn't really see much, and is going to go pick up his Krug.
Yeah, he also forced him onto some awkward pathing here, so Kayn has to back only on 20 CS as opposed to getting a few. And Olaf still has a couple camps to take in the proper order. His Raptors actually might respawn in proper timing too. We can clear back down this map, get a very significant tempo advantage beyond all of this golden experience he's taking with Kayn.
see if that's what he decides to do, or if he goes back to base, as his bot side has been pretty standard. We haven't seen any aggression, which definitely favors Twitch and Janna. They're going to be breathing a sigh of relief that they haven't been ganked yet, and they're sitting a couple CS up.
Yeah, again, this early game has been all about trying to keep the Olaf ahead, trying to get him the advantage and keep the Kane down. Because of that, some of these late, again, Ezreal not fantastic at pure flat 1v or 2v2 engages because he is this longer range poke style like ADC. And so even with the massive engage from Leona, it does make it difficult for them to address without some jungle presence.
We do see Volcan now starting to path down towards his bot side. There's a ward in that bush if he decides to hop over. Will he be able to get there in time? The nicest plate onto the Janna, though. She flashes away, igniting the through. Gonna be slowed down. She has no more escapes. Is now Twitch is the target. Does get stunned up. Red buff slowing him down. Zenith Blade going under the turret. A flash away, though. But Agua will survive. But it's a 1-for-0 trade. First takedown for Lambert.
Yeah, well managed in terms of wave control right there. They let this bot lane of the Twitch and Janna push in so that when Olaf came down, despite the ward being in that river brush, they couldn't respond fast enough. Well engaged by Aqua on this Leona pick. First advantage here for the side of Lambert.
And I like there at the end, it's the Olaf walking up and saying, hey Twitch, you're backing a little bit too far forward, buddy. Stop that recall, try again further back. And just delaying that ADC from coming back to lane a little bit longer. Just a nice touch.
He actually kept him in lane here. He forced him to stay. There's no aggression from Leona and Ezreal as those two back to spend their gold, so the Twitch was able to pick up a little more experience. Small experience advantage now over the likes of the Ezreal, but the gold is still in the Ezreal.
Now, I like the observer, probably the vision, as Kane has not been spotted. It's PKDR doesn't know the jungler is here. The immediate respect flash away.
Yeah, very, very well done. He knows he has no mana there, so, if he has mana, might be able to, take a route and then fight his way out of that situation. Instead, just opts to flash, respects the Kane, and denies him any of these orbs to get him the transformation faster. Well done by PKDR.
Very well done indeed. It is a pretty hefty price to pay, though, for blowing those, denying those orbs is going to be flashless. Still a very tanky champion. I don't expect him to go down even without the flash unless there's something like a 3 or 4-man dive, but
this is interesting. So I want to take a quick look at the items of the Twitch. Ops immediately first Serrated Dirt. This is an item that gives lethality, which is essentially armor penetration. Works very well against squishy targets. He's looking to try to fight this Ezreal all game. That is his #1 job. Fight the Ezreal. That's not necessarily something that's common on Twitch. It's a very, very unique style that it looks like Danza is trying to force out. Maybe looking for this Vladimir, maybe looking for this Ezreal in the later stages of the game.
It is interesting as the rest of the composition is built around this team fight. And Ezreal with that Serrated Dirk playstyle, it seems like they caught out here. The X come through, the Zenith Blade, the E coming down as Volcan finds a little rat working his way through the jungle and sends him on a one-way ticket back to base.
Yeah, it looked like during that exchange, Kane went down at some point as well. So just finding advantages with this. Yeah, it was a gank on the top side of the map. Very, very well done by Maokai, responding to that and getting the blue buff away from the Kane as well. They're putting so much pressure on the Kane in this one. They're doing a great job adapting to that style of play they're using. This Olaf and the Leona also roam together very, very well. You just saw the aggression onto the Twitch. Gives more pressure here for this Ezreal.
Going to land onto the Janna. The ultimate going to come through from Leona. Stun her up. The Zenith Blade. Volcan now on a takedown spree. But now the reinforcements are arriving. They're left out to dry. 1v3 against the enemy team. Going to be the sacrificial lamb here. But there might be more going over Volcan. Going to walk out so far. It's going to be Sorcius shutting him down. Orbital doing his best to escape. Throwing down the Qs. The red buff slow will help him. And overall, it's going to be a 1-for-2 trade back in favor of Mount DeSales.
Big overextension right there from Lambert. You got a few advantages, and then they tried to press way too far for the Janna elimination there. 2 teleports that's coming out from the Scion and the Rise, as well as the ultimate expended to get a few eliminations in response. So, like I said, a little bit of an overstep from Lambert. Certainly not the worst play in the world for them. They still have plenty of gold advantage to work with right now.
Yeah, and Mount DeSales used a lot for that play. And that's going to allow this Maokai up here in the top lane to get 2 plates, effectively more than a takedown's worth of gold for himself. so getting a lot of defensive stats. He is going to be in a good spot as we start to get into these bigger team fights.
Yeah, and this Maokai is a large part of this team fight since he's the primary tank for the side of Lambert. And again, his advantage over Cyan is big one. Cyan typically has a small advantage in this lane because Cyan is a champion with some percent health damage. Maokai usually has some struggles, but certainly Hadar playing this very, very well.
That he is going to be locking up that Cyan as his jungler comes through, standing in front of him to try to block the ultimate, flashing forward, and now here comes the jungler assistance, going in on the Cyan though, he's going to get taken down. Now the jungler is going to fall as well, Volcan grabbing 2 for himself. What a beautiful gank there for the top jungle duo.
Yeah, and the teleports were already expended, so now Olaf and this Maokai can sit up here and might get first tower on the top side of the map right here. Well played. What's very important is the rune choice here from Volcan on the Olaf. Opts for the Conqueror, very aggressive rune. It gives your auto attacks true damage and additional bonus damage when you stack it up to 5 stacks. And he's playing this very aggressively. He went Warrior, he was going the Longsword. This is a very, very offensive Olaf build. Not typically what we see, but it's working very, very well in this game.
Yeah, Olaf falls off very hard later on in the game, so he's making sure he can find advantages now and press them to the bullet. Because here on the bottom side, Twitch starting to fall down in this matchup. Went with the serrated dirt and a longsword, now going into 2 daggers. What is he looking to build here? I'm a bit perplexed.
Yeah, I am too. It's possible the daggers are going to be used for something that might be it might be just for a laning presence. It is difficult to CS if you have pure AD or pure attack speed because you need both of them. So having some attack speed might help in the laning phase a bit. But again, there's nothing that builds out of both lethality and attack speed at the same time. So I'm a little perplexed as to why he opted for this. This is not an optimal build, and it's putting him a little further behind than you would want to be at this stage in the game.
And especially when he is so integral to those team fights, being behind is not a spot you want to be. As now Vorpal sitting 30 CS over that Twitch, at least very near to that. And now it's going to be, as we start to get into this mid game, the rest of Lambert looking to group around these objectives. You see a Baron spawning very soon here. It will be a Infernal Dragon. We didn't talk about that one last time around, but it is arguably the most important one as it gives a permanent damage boost to your entire team.
Yeah, for compositions especially that are running multiple damage threats, that is, I would say both of these compositions running quite a bit of damage. So Infernal Drake's fantastic for all team compositions, especially if you have damage or scaling champions. It does absolute wonders. Things like this Vladimir is very nice.
Instead of running away, Volcan is just going to go straight in, flashes away to bring the game a little closer, does get tagged up by the Q and the W, but he finds a takedown instead. This man is on a just rampage. And Cyan going to be stunned up from the Fiona ultimate. Now into the backline, Rise is the one in trouble. The axe is coming from downtown, and Volcan cannot be stopped. Lambert just runs over Mountain Sails, takes down 4, and now the Infernal Dragon will be there.
Yeah, something very cool about this Olaf is that when he gets low health, he gains attack speed.
Oh, and now even though Twitch trying to find something back for himself, for his team, is going to go down on the backside as well. The delayed ace for Lambert. What a massive swing.
Coupled with the Infernal Dragon. And again, this is the Olaf opting for this aggressive build because last game opted for the more tanky build, didn't really get much done past that minute mark. This is really pressing the advantage. Last time they had 5,000 gold, sat around that for 10, 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and ended up losing the game. This time they're pressing it for even more, looking at, I think it's 8,000 at this point, something like that, and growing still because of this aggressive build from the Olaf. Very, very well decided from Volcan.
And that Olaf Volcan, 7-1, has an assist to his name as well, is doing insurmountably better than last time around where he was able to find some aggressive plays and never turn it into a real advantage. This is the composition that Lambert wanted to run last time as well. They stuck to their guns. They said, hey, we still think we can win with this composition, and it's looking so much better.
Yeah, and Sorcius without something like the Anivia for massive build, it's just so much harder to keep this Olaf out of fights. He can walk through basically anyone. As you saw last time, very low health, still finding the absolute win in the duel against the Kane because of the way that Olaf works, because of the Champions kit and the build that he's opted for here. So very, very well played right now from the side of Lambert. They've got to look to extend this even further, get this plot tower, have all of the outers down, and then maybe start to look for Baron. That can definitely be sprung forth with the Rift Herald. I think it was a good job.
They was for them and will be summoned here in the mid lane. Not going to be able to take down any plates to be out past that 14-minute mark, but still taking down those turrets is a worthwhile task nonetheless. Shelly taking down one, will charge up for another headbutt there. Will eventually get taken down by the rest of Mountain Sails, but a very good job by Lambert using that and opening up the map.
And Mountain Sails actually put a lot of people towards the mid lane, afraid that the side of Lambert was going to, engage, try to get 2 towers, maybe overextend there, and that leaves his bot tower unguarded. So Ezreal's probably going to walk away with another tower for the side of Lambert. They took that, turned it into 2.5 towers right there. Very well played from Lambert on the Rift Herald play, now sitting on 10,000 gold at 15 minutes. That is an insane gold.
And 6,000 of that is in the pocket of Vorpal, or, that is what he's accrued over the entire game. He is currently sitting 2,000 over his opponent in Twitch, the one that wanted to be on at least equal footing. So such a dominant performance from Vorpal. We saw a good game out of him last time, but this time it's just been like he's unblocked.
This is Super Saiyan Vorpal, as you might want to say, talking about him as the unlocked champion on the Olaf. He doesn't get tons stronger. This is really the strongest point for the Olaf, so pressing this advantage is absolutely vital. But again, Ezreal scales for late, Vladimir scales for late. He doesn't have to be a massive damage dealer as this game continues. He does get to rely on more of these carries to do more work as the game goes on. And so all of this work he's put in to get them advantage, to get his team advantages, when it comes to the 5v5 phase, that is going to pay off immensely.
That it will, and it's a 5v5 that Mountain Sails really doesn't want to take right now. Being 10,000 gold behind, I mean, you saw it last time they were able to win fights. That was 5,000 gold behind, so double that deficit. And now Lambert is starting to look like even if they make a mistake, they might just flat out win anyway.
Yeah, and talking, even if they lose a fight, even if they lose 2 fights here for the side of Lambert, there's still no guarantee that the side of Mountain Sails can come back off of that. They need to get a lot of that gold onto the Twitch. Interesting adaptation here. So he went for that serrated Dirk first on the Twitch. Now he's building back towards standard. This is Blade of the Rune King Twitch. This is what you'd normally see. This is what you'd expect at least. One of the 2 main builds I would expect. This is the more popular of the 2. Really good into high health champions like Blade. Oh my lord.
That is so much damage coming out from Dizon. The shield to be thrown down, but now the Ragnarok going to the backside. He finds one. He's looking for 2. The axe does not connect, but now it is the king that is the target. Flashes away. A decisive, such a quick engage there by Volcan. Dives in the back line and is able to find some takedown.
Yeah, and Maokai's still pushing in the top. Vladimir's still pushing in the mid lane. They're not really moving out of these lanes. This mid game, as we define it, when people start to move around the map, isn't really happening. They don't need it to. They have advantages in every single lane. Why not just keep pressing in every individual lane and using the advantages to their fullest? That's what Vladimir just did. He took the second mid tower that had gotten the charge, half the health gone from the Rift Herald earlier, just took it for himself. Bot tower now taken along with an elimination for the Olaf, and Maokai consistently pushing waves into the side, getting himself more and more of a lead. Now another Infernal going the way of Lambert.
We talked about how those stack. So getting 2 of the best dragon in the game, the Infernal, it is going to stack on top if Lambert are able to pick it up.
Yeah, I spoke a little too soon. They're a little ways away. They must move back, used a lot of this gold. Still, team fight ensuing might be really good for Lambert since they do have this gold advantage.
That they do, and they want to force these fights because they know they're going to win them. Now, of course, fighting around the Infernal Dragon is risky because your opponents have a chance to steal it away. But Volcan, 2 levels up over Soccer Monk, that's not exactly a 50-50 smite.
Yeah, exactly. But the issue is also that there's vision over the wall, so they know when they think the Kane's going to come in, he can try to come over and try to sneak his way out, but
he's out of time. He gets a little bit of anti, and they are going to go in. The Dragon is around 2,000 health, will slightly reset, and here comes the engage. He dives into the backline from Leona, from the Vladimir, and the entire team is just dominating Mountain Sails right now. They have to run as fast as they can. Sorsky is the only member able to make it out alive, and not only the Drake, but 4 takedowns will go over the way of Lambert.
Now give that to the way of into Picadar. His engage with this Maokai ultimate was huge. Got every single one of them rooted, and then the flash over the wall here for the Vladimir, getting a 5-man ultimate allowed for consistent damage to just tear through this team. Again, this is the Lambert we expected. This is the early game to press their advantage team that we wanted to see in game 1. It's working to fruition now.
And now they're able to take down the mid-lane inhibitor. not even 20 minutes into the game. Normally teams need that Baron. It hasn't even spawned yet.
Yeah, that it hasn't, and they're about to look for another tower as well. That'll be every single outer tower and the one inhibitor in the mid lane, so massive advantage still accruing here for Lambert. They're sitting at close to 15,000 gold at 19 minutes. Again, this just keeps growing. It doesn't get smaller. They're not evening out. They're not patching these holes on the side of Mountain Sails. They're actually just, keeps getting worse. The boat is sinking right now for this team.
And if you are Mountain Sails, are you at a point yet where you just start thinking of game 3? Or do you think there is a way they can come back and win this game?
It's so difficult. The thing is that, again, the mid-game was what they were really counting on. They needed to oppress the Vladimir and not give Olaf the advantage because these two champions do very, very well in the mid-game team fights. However, Vladimir sitting on a Magi right now, as well as this Proto Belt. That's terrifying. You have 2 items now. You have 2.5 items on this Maokai. He's huge. You can't really take him down with anyone because Twitch hasn't even finished an item yet. That is the terrifying prospect of this game. And so Ryze is your best chance for really consistent and high damage, but Ryze is very single target. You have to play immaculate team fighting to let this Ryze get unlocked. And even then, I don't know that it's enough to actually get them pure 5v5 wins, especially if this Baron is secure.
Mountain Sails looking for a miracle here as they are so far behind Lambert. They do have the advantage of still being able to lose a game and not lose a series. So that is a good thing for them. But they want to take it home with a clean 2-0. They don't want another opportunity to go the way of Lambert. So this could be the one they are looking to fight around. Ultimate Maokai gonna come through. The Scion Titan put a massive ultimate by the Vladimir in the backline. He hits half the team, as now it is Torthius once again running from the rest of his team. They do have some members still alive, but it's going to be Lambert just looking to end the game. They don't want to wait any longer. They want to take this to a game 3 right now.
Yeah, they have the ability to do so. Scion not up for another 15 seconds. Janna's got 10 seconds on her, and there's no one to contest the team.
And they want to into Sakurman by a nice knockup. He does go into the ultimate, but can it be enough? The rest of the team starting to get very low. Nate, though, on a rampage as Soccer Monk straight. Screen goes gray. Now one Nexus turret down. There goes the second. The shutdowns are coming through. This might be a defense coming out from Mountain Sails. Can they actually do it? Vorpal, though, dominating now. This Ryze has been taking out. The Nexus is getting too low. It's not going to be enough. The defense, although close, wasn't able to stop Lambert. They're going to take us to a game 3.
Again, Lambert, I said it in the beginning of the game. They have 2 options. They can either try to draft a better pure 5v5 team composition, or they can double down and try to get super early aggression, even if it doesn't make the best team comp. They actually took my first set of advice. They drafted a little bit better 5v5 with the aggressive Olaf pick, and it completely took over the game. And then, how do you win 5v5s if you have an Ezreal, if you have a Vladimir that are doing so much damage alongside the Olaf that's ahead, alongside the super tanky Maokai? It's a terrifying prospect. Fantastic adaptation by the side of Lambert.
Absolutely. They drafted that excellent team fighting composition that they didn't have in game 1, because you saw in game 1 they just went fight, fight, fight. Every objective up, let's 5v5 fight over it, even though they didn't have the team to back it up. This time, though, they grabbed those tools for themselves, play the exact same style, this time to a much larger success.
Yeah, both teams have now found some success in purely drafting for the 5v5 that fits their style better. Here's the thing. Coming into game 5, I have to give a small advantage to the side of Mountain Sails. The reason why is we've seen what Lambert wants to do. They want to aggress with their jungler. They want to play the early game, and they want to fight it out. But Mountain Sails, they showed they can play the 5v5. They can play that team fight. And now that looks like the style that the game's going for. If they improve their draft and clean up a little bit of the play, especially in that jungle position, maybe don't look at the Kayn for game 3, I really think that they have the ability to dictate how this game finishes as long as they think it through.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a series on our hand as we are going to be going to Game 3 as Lambert High takes on Mountain Sails Academy for the right of the Georgia State Championship title. We will go into another short break as the teams are getting ready for their final match of their season. Don't go anywhere. This is a series finale you do not want to miss.
with this. Come and run again. You want a dose of this? Right now it's KD8. I'm a goddess with a blaze. 소리처럼 내 이름 잊지 못하게. Loud, 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 loud. I could take you to the top. 절대 멈추지 못해. 내가 끝내주는 bad gal, gal, gal. Where's that a thought that oh, you know how to react. I'm a picture perfect face with that wild in my veins. You can hear it in my glow, 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 glow. So keep your eyes on me now. 무엇을 보든 좋아할 거야. 다 할 수 없는 배vo. 나와 되길 원한 늘 확신해. We got it all in our hands now. So can you handle what we're all about? What's so tough? Let's get it, show you out. Can you feel the rush now? Ain't nobody bringing us down, 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 down. They could try, but we gonna wear the crown. You could go another round, 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 round. Wish you luck, but you're not bringing us down. We go hard, till we get it, we go hard. We so in it, we pop stars. Only winning, winning now. Ain't nobody bringing us down, 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 down. You ready for this? Let's go. See, 언제든지 내 모습 매직 단 한 번에 내가 잡아 절대 기죽지 않지. 펴펴 네가 뭘 알아. 견딜 수 없어 원해도 원하는 게 얼굴에 보여. I'm trouble and you running it. I'm so cold. When I move that way, you gon' be so blown. I'm the realest in the game. Said I'm on fire with the blade. You're about to hear my name ringing in your head like whoa. So keep your eyes on me now. 무엇을 보든 좋아할 거야. I'm so tough. Let's get it, show you out. Can you feel the rush now? Ain't nobody bringing us down, 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 down. They could try, but we gonna wear the crown. You could go another round, 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 round. Wish you luck, but you're not bringing us down. We go hard, till we get it, we go hard. We so in it, we pop stars. Only winning, winning now. Ain't nobody bringing us down, 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 down. 난 멈추지 않아. We go hard. We pop stars. Ain't nobody bringing us down, 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 down. They could try, but we gonna wear the crown. You could go another round, 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 round. Wish you luck, but you're not bringing us down. We go hard, till we get it, we go hard. We so in it, we pop stars. Only winning, winning now. Ain't nobody bringing us down, 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 down. The night beckons while you dream. A life never lives in peace. As you stand upon the edge, woven by a single thread, and
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the PlayVS Spring 2019 Grand Championships. It is Lambert High versus Mount DeSales Academy, and they are tied up 1-1 after an impressive jungling effort from Lambert. They were able to take a series, and now we've got a real series on our hands. So, is Lambert going to get the reverse sweep, or are we going to see Mount DeSales get them a win today and take home the championship? Let's turn it to Audio and Rebel Fox to find out.
Thank you, Negra. It all comes down to this. Despite what the entire season might have led up to, this is really the only game that matters for these two teams. Game 3, winner takes all, match point in this best of 3 series, state championships. It's Lambert. It's Mount DeSales. It's going to be a great game.
Yeah, and this is one of my favorite times to watch, is because both of these teams have shown quite a bit, but all of the time, players are working on new picks, new strategies, and it's in games like this that you can sometimes see some weird things come out, some weird new champions, weird new strategies, weird new builds, and it's my favorite kind of year when that happens. So I'm excited to see what adaptations get brought by both sides, because clearly, both had a demoralizing loss, and now it just comes down to this, as you said.
Back against the wall, we'll see what these teams decide to do in order to take home that trophy. Now, we've seen 2 different compositions coming out from the side of Lambert. One very hyper aggro, one more focused on the team fight, where Mount DeSales very good at sticking to their guns in that team fight composition. We'll see which side we get to see it this time, as we are going to be about to go into the draft phase. Now, will Lambert go back to that game 1, aggro, or will they stick with this team fighting composition that we've seen?
I really do think that they want to be aggro. It's this team's style, and it's what they've been great at basically through the entire season. They've gotten gold advantages. They want champions who can take advantage of it in the earlier stage of the game, so we'll see what they want to adapt to.
We will see as Mount DeSales taking off that Nidalee from Volcan. This is one of his strongest picks. They've banned it away all 3 games now. That's not going to change. Lambert learning from their game 1 mistakes. They don't let Sorcius have a Nivea. I think that's a smart pick. We called for it in game 2. That continues on to game 3.
Absolutely. Now, I'm interested to see what other picks. Yeah, the Hecarim's still gone. Again, that's one of these picks that can absolutely take over if given the opportunity. The same side as the Olaf. Azir taken away as well.
We see a lot of similar bans here from game 2. The Hecarim, the Azir. Will the Olaf come through on the 3rd ban? Volcan has shown 2 games now where he's been very proficient on that champion, and there it is. Mount DeSales will force Volcan to play something new this series, so we will see a bit of an adaptation coming off from the team that just came from a win.
Lambert, okay, yeah, they're consistent with their bans again with the Lulu. They ban that away every game. It's the Enchanter that Lil Dan's likes to play the most.
Dizon's Ezreal is still up. He had a very great showing on that in game 1. It was taken away from him game 2, and it's immediately locked in for Mount DeSales. They love to have Dizon on this safe pick, and it's going to come out once more.
Yeah, the protection for this Ezreal, both teams have played it to absolute certainty, so having this is an immediate power pick for the side of Mount DeSales.
And then Lambert picking up that Vladimir and the Leona that won them game 2. You see a little bit of kind of both sides from their wins coming out here. So we see the best of their best games into this game 3, where it's really the culmination of the series.
They picked 2 squishy champions on the side of Mount DeSales, and they left up the Mordekaiser. There's nothing I want to see more than the Mordekaiser right here for Lambert.
It's available. The Mordekaiser was not banned. It was taken away the 2nd round this time. Lambert could go for it. There it is!
I'm giddy right now.
Okay, so for those of you wondering why we are so excited, Mordekaiser is a very interesting pick that is almost never seen.
No one plays
Mordekaiser.
Play. No one plays Mordekaiser.
Because alone, he's a very, very, very weak champion. But in these 2v2 situations, when he does have somebody who has a lot of lockdown, he has the potential to just solo take over the game and become so unstoppable that nobody can deal with him. It's a very feast or famine playstyle. It either does extremely well or absolutely horrible. So Lambert taking a risk here in game 3, this is what we love to see.
Absolutely, and I love the adaptation here, the continued top lane bans. Maokai gone, Kennen gone now from the side of Lambert. Ricard has been one of the better players on this squad. The now. I think Sejuani gone as well.
Sejuani and Kane, so throwing the jungle bans their way. Soccer Monkey is going to be forced onto something new. We've seen Kane come out 2 times, and now it's PKDAR returning to that Aatrox that we saw in Game 1. It wasn't too impressive, but still a massive CS lead in the early laning phase. It was up almost 50 CS, and it's going to be running out of time, returning to that Scion and Soccer Monk, picking up the help me out here.
Nocturne?
The Nocturne there in the jungle, a very aggressive pick, but has to wait until level 6 to actually come online.
There isn't much range on the side of Lambert. Oh, okay. Poppy pickup.
They are going to grab that Poppy. That makes me wonder that a Poppy jungle could even be the Aatrox. Bit of a flex there.
I think it's Aatrox jungle if I had to guess. Poppy's a little bit better into the Nocturne in terms of 1v1 strategy. Or my apologies, I meant to say Aatrox a little better into the Nocturne in terms of 1v1. And Poppy's another tank, so you can sit that tank v tank matchup. I do think that's how they're going to go. So Poppy will go to the top lane. They flex the Aatrox, very smart by Lambert to give that a little bit freer. Now Aatrox, a very strong earlier game champion, similar to how this Olaf can work, can really put on pressure and doesn't have to worry about anything because Nocturne a champion that relies very heavily on level 6.
He does. He has access to a very powerful ultimate, but not until he hits that level 6 point. So earlier on, his ganks aren't that effective. But Lambert really tunneling on this bot lane composition. They pick a tank in the top lane, say you're just going to sit there, absorb pressure. They pick a fairly safe mid laner, and then they aggressive jungler, and they very aggressive bot lane. They want to win through this Mordekaiser and Leona. I am so excited to see what Lambert can show us. It is so rare for us as casters to commentate something like this, so when we do get to see it once in a blue moon, it's a sure treat.
Yeah, the thought is here that Lambert has the Vladimir, which certainly did very well into the Rise last game. They have this Mordekaiser Leona, some favorite of theirs, that gets pressure if they stay ahead, especially into Nami Ezreal. They're very safe, Nami Ezreal, so don't expect eliminations early. Definitely expect pressure from this Nocturne and Leona, or my apologies, the Mordekaiser Leona. And then this Aatrox can absolutely take advantage of early dragons. Mordekaiser has a passive that allows... We'll get into that in the game. We'll save it for now.
It'll be fun.
This is a Lambert composition right here. This is a strategy they're going to run. We have to see if Mount Sales with this Ezreal Nami, the very comfortable pick, and the Nocturne are capable of responding to the early pressure being put on by Lambert. Now,
Nami and Ezreal, 2 very defensive champions. We saw kind of the same as Game 1 where Lambert wanted this aggro bot lane, but it was Dizon and Little Dizon that were able to absorb that pressure and really not fall too far behind in that actual 2v2. So that's something we want to see again. You need by all costs to avoid dying in this lane, especially if the credit goes over to Vorpal on this Mordekaiser. Going to be harder than Game 1 where they were able to do it successfully. And this time you don't have something like the Anivia coming into this mid-late game to really zone off any pressure. However, Lambert doesn't have a whole lot of engage like they did in Game 1 either.
Yeah, I think that this is a weird combination of both Game 1 and Game 2 drafts. Lambert still has the early game they want, a little better team fighting, but this time don't have the same champions and certainly don't have any range. The only range champion on this roster is the Vladimir, and he's low range. He's low range, mid-range champion is really what he's considered. On the opposite side, as you said, they don't have the zoning of the Anivia. They don't have some of this control that they had, especially the scaling of the Kayn, but they do still have some of the pieces that did work. And the Enchanter, the Ezreal, all of that can still contribute to wins on both sides.
Well, Game 3 all comes down to this, tied up 1-1. Let's join these champions on the rip to see who will be walking away Georgia State champion.
Both teams have tried to invade a couple games in a row here. With the Nami, I think that's going to continue from Mount Sale. And we're going to see them maybe come through the mid-river.
The Mordekaiser and the Leona could be walking into trouble if they go any farther forward. You see that vision toggle. Neither team knows where the enemy is yet. It's going to be the side of Lambert kind of fanning out. They aren't all stacked up. So even though this Leona and Mordekaiser are aggressive, they cannot stay in 2v5. They're playing it safe for now, though.
Yeah, they're doing a good job attempting to stay near this brush, making sure there's no sort of engage or funny business. Seems like both teams, while we've seen multiple times that both have tried to invade or get some sort of advantage early with this jungle pressure, it doesn't seem to be coming out. They must both respect the opposite team. They're just wanting to have a more standard earlier stage of the game.
Yep, as they are going to just back off there.
Yeah, Actually, Vladimir just got a good ward over the Raptor wall. I think spotted out at least 2 or 3 of the opposition, so very, very good. They know, at very minimum, that Nocturne's starting on the bot side of the map, so good vision ward there, good late ward there by the Vladimir.
And that's going to give Volcan a lot more confidence. He might want to go for a blue steal. Meet Nocturne there as Nocturne, first couple levels is kind of weak for him. He is going to go straight to his Raptor. Depth is spotted out now, so they're going to know exactly where the jungler of the Sail is.
And as we mentioned, Nocturne is a jungler that very, very heavily relies on his level 6. Level 6 is the time when you get your ultimate, and the ultimate on Nocturne is game changing. What it does is it casts a shadow over the entire map, so no one on the enemy team can see anything. It's called a blind. And then he can dash to an enemy champion within a very, very long range. Makes it very, very easy to gank from just about anywhere on the map, and it's very, very formidable. However, it comes with the drawback that Nocturne pre-level 6 isn't the best champion. It's very difficult to win most duels, most fights with other junglers. So, getting that level 6 for the Nocturne in safety is the priority here for the side of Mountain State.
That is, he is going to be looking to power farm, although Volcan looking to interrupt him. 3-6 should be pretty high up there, pretty advantageous in that matchup. So now we see here in the bottom lane, nothing is happening so far. Both sides do have level 2. He's going to go through this blade is going to connect. Oracle, can he get enough damage? A little T-Zon immediately flashing away. A lot of respect going over, but good job by the duo to burn that summoner.
This is the power of the Mordekaiser Leona. They're both melee champions, so they're very low range, but Mordekaiser has constant shields, constant healing, that kind of thing, and the hard engage from Leona makes it difficult for even safe champions like this Ezreal, and especially the Nami, to keep away from them. So if they find that engage again without that flash up from Nami, it could be very, very bad.
That it could. They will be looking for that Nami now that that flash is burned. You can see Volcan spending some time down here on the bot side. Will grab the scuttle. And now just sitting in his bush, waiting for an opportunity to gain. Doesn't see one quite yet, so he's going to go try to see what camps he can take away. Only one available is the Krugs. He will dash over that pit to grab over.
Yeah, and that's a pretty decent steal away, although it looks like Nocturne might respond.
Might respond on the other side. It's PKDR recognizing he doesn't have his jungler and not knowing where the other one is, will back off. Nocturne is going to be spotted out. Really good wards put down by the side of Lambert, tracking that jungler.
The vision from Lambert in this game has already been, leaps and bounds above what we've seen in some of these other series. Being able to track a Nocturne to find out, where he's at, when he's going to
hang on, they're fine to eat. Onto the Nami, she doesn't have any flash. Here comes the jungler going in, Ignite burn down, and Mordekaiser grabs that first takedown. That was worst case scenario. And the pull back onto the Ezreal. He has to flash away too. Leona going very aggressive. The heal burn, but not enough as they trade one back. Could they get two? Doesn't look like it as the answer's coming out here in the mid lane. Nate has to be careful. Does have these heals coming through, but it's still that Mordekaiser, even though one was traded back, grabbing the first takedown.
Yeah, very, very well done. Again, the option to aggress onto this Nami because her flash was down, and then the Aatrox sitting right here. Fight another fight.
Good trouble. Immediate flash away. Spell shield's a knockup. Very good. With a flash followed by Volcan. He's able to find it. The 1v1 in the jungle. Lambert off to a fantastic start.
Yeah, and again, flash for flash there, so if they run into each other again, the Aatrox will still have the advantage. Again, Nocturne looking for the level 6, and he's getting stalled out just a little bit here by Volcan's incredible presence on the map already. Advantage for the Nocturne in the bot lane. Ezreal did pick up one for himself. More fighting at the top lane.
So with PKDR just dueling here with the tank, but tank v tank we like to call a wet noodle matchup. It's like you hand two people wet pool noodles and see who can take each other down first. It's going to take a very long time for that to actually happen. So don't expect anything crazy out of it.
Well, okay, so the pressure being applied right now by Volcan. Ooh, hit the pull out right now from the mid lane.
I was going to say those cool. He's going very low, but the ultimate's going to come in. It was a bait all along. Volcan is going to join him. The flash already burned. Can he get another Q? Very smart to not go any further without vision.
Yeah, Volcan has now burnt, I think it was Nami Flash, he's burnt Rise Flash, he's burnt Nocturne Flash, all in just the last few minutes. Those are high cooldowns that he's getting just off of this. So, while these ganks aren't getting, specific amounts of, takedowns or gold specifically for the laners, getting these cooldowns means if he comes back to these lanes later, he can take advantage of that and get eliminations then.
That he absolutely can. Bot side is kind of stabilizing here after that initial play that did net the Mordekaiser. Achilles going straight into the ability power, building as much damage as he possibly can. The CS is a little bit in advantage of the Ezreal. The Mordekaiser is still actually going to be a little bit behind. Because of the CS advantage, as well as Ezreal taking room, they get full hold on 1 minute. The Sion coming down here in the bot side. Now Bear doesn't have any flash himself. 4v1, and he will go down as a very nice roam from Mount Sail to get an advantage back for themselves here in this bot lane.
Yeah, so level 6 Sion gets a massive running dash. It gets him basically down an entire lane's worth of emotion. This is a phenomenal decision. So this dragon is very, very important to the side of Lambert, and using this Sion to come down and ensure that this goes the way of Mount Sail is huge takeaway from that.
So well played there by the Sion, then using the teleport to go back to the top side, effectively loses nothing for that play. It's pure gain for Mount Sail.
Yeah, that was actually one of the cleanest macro decisions I've seen in a lot of these younger tournaments, a lot of these state tournaments we've seen this week. Being able to find the win condition for the side of Lambert and play to it on the side of Mount Sail was huge. They did a great job right there. Didn't lose much, also didn't have to expend the teleport on Sion.
Not Volcan looking for another gank here in the mid lane. The knockups are going to come through, and Volcan is taking him down.
Again, no flash from earlier, that gank from earlier. So since he burnt the flash already, he comes back to the lane, and now without flash, the Rise goes down. So gets the pressure for his Vladimir, gets an elimination for himself, gives himself even more pressure. He needs to start to compound this into a dragon eventually.
He finds another knockup. The W going to come through as well. And Volcan, he has access to the ultimate. Soccer Monk does not. He is able to do things just like this.
Volcan, again, on this very strong, very powerful dueling jungler of the Aatrox into this Nocturne. No level 6 for Nocturne yet either. Hasn't been able to pull off a very had the one successful gank towards the bot side with Sion, but certainly needs this level 6 to really start being an impact on the map. But Aatrox, and that's Volcan, has already found these plays, already found his niche on the map, and he's doing a great job exploiting.
That he is. Volcan is really the star performer here. We expected the carry to come out of Vorpal and Beber Agua here in the bot side, but it's been Volcan all around the map, creating advantages here for Lambert.
Yeah, not just in this game, in multiple games. Now, having these aggressive junglers unlocks him. It really is the comfort for this champion right now. Again, Dragon's up in a few minutes. We need to talk about that because that's most of the reason why Mordekaiser is such a big pick in the bot lane.
Yeah, Mordekaiser gets a unique passive where, or his ultimate, if he's able to take down one of those dragons, or even if he just helps, you kind of see how when you take down Rift Herald, you get to spawn her on her team. Mordekaiser gets the same thing. If you take down a dragon, you get a dragon joining your team that you can control, move around the map, attack enemies, structures, as you please. So such a huge advantage if you can do that. So Mordekaiser wants to take those dragons more than anybody else.
Yeah, and so what that, talks to is like if you have Aatrox alongside this powerful bot lane and you're able to find an advantage towards this bottom side of the map, you can then use it to take Dragon and then move it either bot lane to find some tower plates or even bot tower, or move it mid lane to take even more advantage, press even more on the map. But it is a play that's very telegraphed. Every single team with a Mordekaiser wants to get that Dragon, so that's what we saw initially from the side of Mount Sail. They were the ones that were able to counteract that by moving Sion to the bottom side of the map. We'll have to see if they're able to continue that trend as the game goes on.
Dragon is not going to be spawning for a little bit of time yet, but look at Soccer Monkey. He is just hovering around this bottom side. As the ultimate available finally, here on the top side, maybe Kadar taking a little bit of damage as Sion does a lot. The ultimate going to come through, but here comes Volcan. It's Kadar just had to buy time. Now running out of time, it has very little left. The nice ultimate there just barely gets him around the Poppy, and he will get out to safety.
I think the fear there was from Kadar. He didn't have a ton of health, so if he gets hit with that ultimate, he might get chunked down to just low enough to where Sion can at least trade onto him if that play even goes correctly and Volcan's able to get the elimination as well. So rather than trading one for one purely, They just decided not to take that play and make the Scion just retreat in his lane.
And they do get that ultimate down by burning absolutely nothing on their side. So overall, positive game.
Yeah, and it does. Oh, okay.
Remember, he has not been winning these fights all game. So much damage coming in from Volcan. Nice Fear is going to send him back with a flash to follow. The ultimate going to be thrown in. They are blind right now. Dives onto Nate, but that's not going to help you live, buddy. And Sacramunk is going to go down just to the mid laner this time. Now running out of time, is going to share a similar fate. Is going to be resurrected there, but not really going to make anything of it as Lambert finds two very quick ones there in the jungle.
And it all started with that start in the top lane. They didn't get much from the Scion, but getting his ultimate and pushing his wave up means they're able to roam into that jungle, get some vision. They find out, or my apologies, Volcan finds out Soccermonk. He's able to get that elimination, and when Scion attempts to help out his jungler, they catch him as well. This is the pressure of counter jungler. This is the pressure that can be put on by a jungler like Aatrox. Now, Aatrox won't be permanently this way. He does fall off as the game continues, gets a little bit later on, but certainly pressing this advantage over Aatrox early is exactly the same thing that he was doing on the Olaf pick.
Yeah, he is doing it this game, and it feels like he's doing it just as well as that game too. Game 1 was rough, but he has really turned it around this series, been looking so just absolutely dominant.
Yeah, he has been the player to watch through most of the series,
now,
even in Game 1.
I do want to mention this really quickly. Synchronized backs coming out from Lambert. All of their members back at the same time, so they can all come out at once and contest this dragon. This is where Mordekaiser wants to be as Volcan. Looking to go in, no ultimate available. Bedbar searching for that
oh, big ultimate!
Grab, dude, that was huge! Groundwork gonna come through, grabbing the members to safety! Oh my goodness! Sorcius just single-handedly saved his entire team, but that was not the prize that Lambert was looking for. They want this dragon, even if they don't find the members. They have vision around the pit. Can they get this? Sakuma, no flash, no way into this fight. A nice ultimate though from the Vladimir, grabs the jungler so low, and Red Team will take that dragon. Look, it is spawned on side of Lambert in all of its glory, and now Mountain Sail have to run. They cannot fight against this power that Lambert has.
Yeah, they have the dragon and the Rift Herald also, so if they pick a lane, they can throw both of those in it, and the pushing power in that lane becomes absolutely unstoppable. This is the dragon. We're talking about Rift Herald now going down in mid lane as well. They're going to look for not one, but two with some of the back timings.
So much here. Lambert has turned the entire map against Mountain Sail. They don't have to just contest with their 5 members, they have to contest with all the objectives available. As here, this dragon is taking up so much damage. They were able to preserve the health of that Rift Herald so it can get a lot more charges off. And with this huge minion wave, they should be able to at least crack this section.
Do recall also that this could have gone much, much worse for the side of Mountain Sails if it weren't for the heroics of Sorcius and Drive ultimate. Got his entire team out. Phenomenal job by him. Again, they have to give up some of these towers, but you'd much rather lose towers than members and towers. That could have been much worse. Very well played by Sorcius.
And Sorcius, that unique ultimate, places a zone down on the map. He picks another zone at a different location. A couple seconds later, everything inside gets teleported. But it is interrupted if he takes any CC, which Lambert has plenty of. So the fact that he was able to do that in their face and still dodge those abilities well enough to get that ultimate off was huge. We don't want to downplay that, but in the end, it was Lambert that came out with the advantage.
Yeah, quick side note on that ultimate as well is even though even though Sorcius made it look like a very usable ultimate, it's actually the worst ultimate in the game. So very well done by Sorcius using such a poor ability in such a fantastic way in this team composition.
Now, Lambert looking for another engage. You find a knockup onto one. Root down, a lot of damage is coming through. A nice 2-man ultimate. Healer's going to be burned there by more, but the ultimate's going to be come through and committed, but it is under the turret. Running out of time, though, does find a takedown. Almost gets out with his life, but the burn damage coming through will eventually take him down 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, doing very, very well. Again, Mountain Sail's finding some advantages here occasionally, but it just seems like Lambert is still playing to win every single fight. They're still getting slight advantage. This is the point in the game that we saw in Game 1 where you're sitting at this 5,000-ish gold advantage. Now, which Lambert do we see? Do we see the team that stalled out at this point and continued to stay stagnant, not really get much more advantage, or the team that continued to grow it exponentially until they just took the win?
Looking to make that decision right here and right now as he goes against 3 members. Lambert, the ultimate, is going to do so much damage and enough to take Soccer Monk down. Ezreal going to be pulled back in as a double takedown going over to Nate.
Yeah, and this is big, getting multiple eliminations here onto the Vladimir. Vladimir, huge champion for team fighting. Looks like he's actually building into a Magi's, which will be huge for his late game damage. And then he also has a needlessly large rod, which usually indicates large AP item. He's going to be very, very strong in the coming minutes, the way that he's been playing this game so far.
He very much will be. Now Lambert has to get out of there. They have overstayed their welcome. He's got the winning fight. Don't push it too far. We've seen that happen a couple times already. They are just going to go down here for this bottom lane turret, pick up all the gold they possibly can.
Yeah, they're able to get quite a bit here. Now, they have 3 minutes until the Baron spawns. That's their next real advantage, or the next real objective that they can look to try to take for. Yeah, right now, Ezreal is the biggest damage dealer, I would say, on the side of the sales, and he's not quite at the item breakpoints you'd want him to be at before he starts being a true carry. So this is going to be a rough few minutes right now for Mount Desale. They have to find a way to get through it.
Yeah, Ezra really looking for that Iceborne Gauntlet before he starts being able to have some wave clear as well as some hiding potential. However, they are having a decent amount of trouble actually clearing out these waves. Sion very good for the wave clear, and so Lambert might want to, just wait for this Baron before they try to actually crack the base. I think they should just go up top side, pick up the free turrets that are still available while you are waiting, because you can't just completely stall out. You still need to get some advantage.
Yeah, what they can also do is they can take multiple members. Oh, there's also a Dragon coming up, and this Infernal Drake, which would be huge for this composition. So definitely look for them to push, again, multiple backs, all synchronized at one time, just like they did last time, coming out with as much gold and as many items as you can have, and they're going to try to take this advantage they've accrued and force another Drake, which they could use either A, push down more towers, or B, take the Baron.
Here comes the engagement from the Sion. It almost finds the Bear does slow him down. Rise ultimate
Counter engage
aggressively,
here,
but they don't find anybody. The ultimate onto the backline. So many cooldowns used, and it's Volcan with his ultimate that is diving onto the carries. He wants to grab the takedown. Two going to go over to the side of Vorpal as Volcan is just running Soccer Monk down. Finds the Chilling Smite. He is going to keep chasing as the rest of his team turns onto the Dragon. They will chase Mount Desale all the way back to their base, so there is no chance of this going their way. And the second Dragon going to be in Mordekaiser's pocket. And this is not a one-time thing, folks.
Yeah, this is multiple eliminations again onto the carries this time. Not able to find anything. The engagement was decent for running out of time if he had the entire team there, but it seemed like it was a 3v3 where he missed the engage, and then the counter engage from Kadar and Volcan just completely closed that very, very quickly. Now this Infernal Drake heading bot lane alongside the Mordekaiser. They should be able to siege up on this tower, and with the pressure of the entire bot side, Vladimir might be opened up to take the top outer tower and give them a ton of pressure around this Baron when it spawns immediately at 20 minutes.
Dragon actually going to be a bit wasted here. Mordekaiser does not bring that one back along with him. I think that's a bit of a waste, but,
Again, all 5 members now committed to the bottom side of the map for Mount Desale. So Vladimir, as I said, getting time on this top tower, might take this himself. And then look at the warding also around the Baron. This was placed down by Volcan. These two worked very, very well together, getting this top side under control. So when this Baron spawns in only 20 seconds, they have clear priority on it.
That they do, and that will be a huge objective. Now, the Mordekaiser does not get access to the Baron, only the Dragon. So, although he will, there are some scenarios where you can have the Dragon fighting the Baron, which is hilarious to see. We're not going to have any such luck this time around as it was used in that bot lane play. But it's Lambert grabbing whatever advantages they can around the map, and now that Baron has spawned, we are finally going to see a big fight where Lambert can finally break the base.
Yeah, Mount Desale, though, they do have a little bit of hope. A lot of these champions, top to bottom, that is everybody except for the support on the side of Lambert, have these bounties that are, it's additional gold that you can get from taking down champions beyond the traditional gold you would get. So bringing down champions like this Mordekaiser, this Vladimir, can net you 500 additional, 300 additional gold. That is a ton that can go into your pocket, can really change the tide of a game if they can find the same 5v5s that they were pulling out in Game 1. A big part of that is Stanza and Sorcius need to really be big in some of these fights, trying to take down the front line.
Yeah, it's what we call a comeback mechanic. The bounty is accrued when a champion is very far ahead of his opponent, and so Mount Desale are going to be looking to find that comeback. But running out of time, that's not how you want to start it off. He will be into the zombie form, finds a lot of damage onto the bear, who goes golden. But can he actually get out? That is just one member gone from the side of Mountain Sail. That is their frontline tank, so it becomes so much harder to face check into this jungle. It's so dark for them. Volcan is going to pop the ultimate, finds the Nami, the knockup. Vi's going to get out of there, but it's PK'd on a takedown spree now as he finds his way onto the support. Volcan, not quite done yet, is continuing to chase into this backline, and now with a two-man advantage, Lambert has their eyes set on this Baron.
The Vulcan is terrifying on this Aatrox, but he's just as good as the Olaf has been in the last few games. Maybe even more terrifying because he's frontlining on it with that ultimate. It's very, very scary.
Oh my goodness, zoning the members away, finds a takedown onto Dizon, the main carry of the team, and he's just gonna keep going. 1v3, this man does not care. He does fall down in the end, but he bought a lot of time for his team, who eventually, actually very slowly, are going to take down this Baron. Because it's just so slow, they don't have a lot of consistent damage. There's still a world where Mountain Sail actually take this,
the ultimate's
but not
on him.
if this takes down the jungler.
Wait, in about 3 seconds, you might actually see the elimination come through.
Baron will go over to Lambert there. Nocturne is going to survive. Eventually, the burn not enough to take him down. And now the Aatrox looks to continue the chase. The pull back in. Vorpal could look to grab this. Lambert, though, you have very low health bars. Not a lot of tools left available. Vulcan's ultimate Neiman has already come back off the cooldown. As the Scion looking for the ultimate, finds a knockup, doesn't find the second, is a nice flash away. Vorpal will probably go down, but he goes golden. Vulcan finds a second ultimate, has so much healing coming through. Vorpal unstoppable, finds a trade on one. Vulcan is able to find another one. Is that it's just a one-for-one trade there in the jungle, the backhand of that Baron. But the rest of the team is arriving. They're looking to grab some more. Little Dizon should fall to Nate. A lot of damage coming on the backhand of that ultimate. And now Skorsius has to run. Throws on the Rune Prism, the flash to follow. Nate does not want to let this one go. But does he have the mobility to actually find this? But he is delaying Skorsius from getting back to his base. The rest of the members are pushing into the towers. The inhibitor turret going down. The inhibitor, the target now. Is the ultimate going to come through. A nice arcane shift away. Keeps Dizon safe. And now the rest of Lambert, they have overstayed. They have to get out of here. Nocturne ultimate going to be committed, but he's going to fall in his PK'd. He's too tanky to go down. You have to assume that Lambert now will back off from this fight. But they have shown the willingness to keep this going for a long time.
A few shutdowns did go over. The Vladimir and the Mordekaiser both went down in this last little, probably 5-minute exchange between these two teams. But certainly, advantage still the way of Lambert. They had the Baron, they have the base down, and another Infernal Drake up. They can use this Infernal Drake with the Baron to make a massive siege in the bot lane, and that's exactly what I think is about to happen.
Not to mention the amount of damage they will get off of stacking 2 Infernal Dragons this late into the game.
Yeah, it's a terrifying question. Again, this is Aatrox that is hugely contested in the early game. It's what he's really meant for. He took that advantage he gained in the early game, and he's compounded it into fight after fight victory for the side of Lambert. They're doing a great job. Again, it all comes down to can Danza and Skorsius put out enough damage against this team to actually take fights. I'm just not sure right now they're able to do it. There's a possibility. Again, they need more shutdowns. They need to definitely, this push I think is the one they have to find some advantage on, because otherwise this might just break the base.
Lambert having the ability of the Dragon alongside of the Baron buffed up minions, at least for the next minute or so. They will be looking to further destroy the base. One inhibitor already exposed. Can they find another? Running out of time, looking to take up some damage in the front line. This is going very low thanks to that Dragon. None of these abilities have actually been used yet. They're just able to find and take down a huge engagement. And PK'd takes down the jungler. Not available anymore. Volcan does foul in the exchange. They finally find a shutdown. Now here comes the rest of the fight. Nice ultimate onto the Scion. Nate goes golden after a huge ultimate. 2 members down, and they might just look to end the game here. The mid laner will fall. It's a lot of damage missing, and now 3-for-2 trade. Lambert, I think they can pick up the inhibitors, but will they go for the end? Vorpal seems to want it, but his PK'd is very low. He's going to go in alone, actually. 1v2 under the turrets. Might just go down for his overconfidence, and it will be Little Dizon finding that shutdown for himself. An over-aggressive play there by Lambert, although they do get a lot still the base will stand.
Yeah, the push was spurned. It was taken away. They did a good job just getting it to stop, not letting them take the entire base. But the damage is absolutely dealt from that Baron buff. Both inhibitors in the mid and bot lane. Now also their top lane pushed into their inhibitor tower. All the pressure on the map is completely owned right now by Lambert. Even if they didn't find much more gold advantage, much more of an advantage out of this last few seconds, the map pressure that they just generated is absolutely undescribably strong. And again, Baron coming up, more dragons coming up in the future, they're the ones that will have pure priority on it because of their control of the map right now.
It absolutely will. Now sitting 13,000 gold, almost in the lead. One of the biggest leads we have seen thus far. Coming very close to that we saw in Game 2, which is, I think, around the 15,000 mark. And again, it is looking very dangerous here for Mountie Sale. This time, though, they don't have the luxury of playing another game after this. This is do or die for them. They need to pull off something huge.
Yeah, that they do. And again, Danza has been able to find a couple of shutdowns here. He has quite a bit of gold in his pockets, almost on this third item. The third item is the one that will really unlock him in this game, really let him start doing the damage he needs to do to try to take over team fights. But this Vladimir is so ridiculously strong right now. I can't believe, Ezreal has to so far back and not, come down or go down to Vladimir. It's just difficult for him to put out damage onto priority targets.
All 5 members keeping up, they are just letting the minions do the work. There are 2 minions in both mid and bot. They can take their time. All they have to do is let those minions do the work. Eventually, someone will leave the fight to go and clear them, and that's when you engage. That's when you take advantage of that numbers discrepancy.
Yeah, and right now, Baron is almost done. You have a few seconds here.
Nate's finding a good chunk of damage onto Zizan, falling about half health. Little Zizan will heal him up, but it is going to be the Baron, as you said, the next target for Lambert. They are going to make sure they take every advantage possible, not leaving anything to chance.
And Volcan showing his pride, his enjoyment in the game by taunting
a little
bit like that. Yeah, they're walking into very little vision. That blue buff, it does spot that they're on the Baron. There's very little they can do about it. If Lambert wants, they can try to bait this Baron into a 5v5.
No, Nate in the back one! 4-man ultimate! That man just might have single-handedly won the fight as he finds 2 takedowns. The rest of the team has joined him. Volcan finds a 3rd, and now it's Sorkuis who is in trouble, has to flash away as Zizan has to do the same. And now the rest of the team is going to march into the base. They already have the minions there. Nate, when will you stop? This man has been amazing. That Blake just completely won the game, and it's going to be Lambert after they do finish this fight. The ultimate not going to be enough. Sorkuis will fall. Zizan, the last remaining member, is going to go down, and Lambert, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be crowned your Georgia State champion.
I think this was a fantastic adaptation by Volcan. He didn't have the Olaf in this game, and rather than attempting to go to side lanes, try to affect his bot lane, he took it mid. Him and his mid laner, that Vladimir, as you saw all game, hunting down the Nocturne, hunting down the Rise, doing this, getting him an advantage, and you saw the benefit of getting that late game champion ahead, basically 4v1ing in that backline in that last fight.
Absolutely. Although the entirety of Lambert were significantly ahead of Mountain Sales at that time, it was really that Vladimir play that sealed the deal. What an incredible flank. You saw the importance of vision. If you know that Vladimir's there, that fight shouldn't happen. But getting over the wall with the flash, blowing his ultimate on all 5 members. That's a damage increase across the board, taking out 2 by himself, and the team coming in to clean up. They didn't even need the Baron. That was an afterthought for them. Their objective was the fight, and they played it beautifully.
Yeah, and I got to give a lot of props to Volcan in this series. Game 1, he was the one getting them that first advantage, even if they did come away with the win. In the second 2 games, absolutely ran away with it. He was amazing on these picks where he's counter-jungling, aggressing onto the opposing jungler. He flexed his muscles, and it showed. You could see the strength
Absolutely.
of the character.
Definitely gets my vote for the MVP of the series. Game 1, although they lost, he still looked fantastic on the Olaf. Game 2 and 3, he played out of his mind. He was on another level from his opponents.
It was fantastic performance there by Lambert High School. And how about Mount DeSales? They came out, they lost their first 2 games in the regular season against this team. Then they came out with an adaptation game 1 and took it to them. They were not afraid to aggress onto Lambert, and they tried to make this 5v5 team composition work. It was just without the Anivia, without some of these picks that they desperately wanted, they weren't able to make the adaptations necessary to win against this early game team composition.
Mount DeSales can still walk away with this with their head held high. That was definitely an incredible showing, especially, as you said, this is a high school competition. These players are so talented, and thank you so much to our sponsors of PlayVS for giving these teams a chance to show what they have. These kids have scholarships for college, varsity jackets on the line. These are very important games, and I can definitely see a future for any of these players that we saw in our finals. But a big congratulations to Lambert High School, as they will be your Georgia State champions. That is going to wrap it up for